Westworld Season 1, Episode 3, The Stray. Do I need to say anything more? Look to my left. Shannon Woodward is here. Let's get this started. Stephen Bunny.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I figured why a big drawn-out open because we have an amazing guest here tonight. Welcome, AfterBuzz superfans. We are here. It is Westworld Season 1, Episode 3, The Stray. I am JC, and we are joined tonight by a very special guest, starting with the lovely lady to my left, Shannon Woodward. Can we get an applause?
Yeah. A lot more people in here than I expected.
Everyone
You
calm
get a
down.
car, you get a car, you get a
Everyone
car.
calm down.
You can't afford that, JC.
Not yet, but across the table, my lovely host to my left.
Hey guys, I'm Joel Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joel Monique and every week at blackgirlnerds.com.
And I'm Dave Child. You can find me at Mr. Dave Child at davechild.com. Hi.
The loveliest one of all.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, yeah. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thanks for having
Are
me.
you kidding me? I need a lot of help today. From
Okay.
what we saw today, let's talk about general impressions. And,
Right.
I mean, Elsie, I've told you, I got it right.
You nailed it. You nailed
Has
it.
anybody else been confused between Elsie and LC? It's very close.
Oh, like the letters.
Like
L,
Elsie.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Lauren Conrad?
Yes, exactly.
That's
This is
actually
how
the
I've
first
had to
time
commit
I-
it to memory.
That's what I
Yeah,
did.
the only thing I keep hearing is like Elise, and I'm like, it's Elsie. But I mean, as a person that has dyslexic tendencies, I get it.
Right.
But yeah, that's. Now I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about Lauren Conrad.
I
And I like
mean-
think about like my
Sorry.
character's name, Lauren Conrad. Anyway, sorry.
Look,
Continue.
no,
Go on, I got into a
Lauren's
rabbit
a
hole.
boss. Lauren's awesome. No shade against Lauren.
She's dope. No, not bad. Just like a reference I wouldn't have, I wouldn't put it together.
No, but
Yeah.
let's put this together because,
Okay.
like I said, we have you here, so we are going to mine you. We need you. We need your help. You have to tell us exactly how this all started for you. I mean, you are the slightly prickly, incredibly intelligent behavioral engineer
Yep.
who fixed the hosts that may have an aberrant, I can't even say it, just something wrong with them.
Oh,
So-
aberrant behavior?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a techie coming into this? Were
Yeah,
you
you know, my dad wrote OS2. Like, my dad
Wow.
was a bit like a software designer.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and he wrote one of the first voice recognition problems for IBM in the 90s, late 90s. And like I used to go into IBM to test that stuff, and it never worked. The voice recognition, especially because like I was like a 7-year-old kid, so like
Right.
my voice was all the way up here, and it was all these like older programmer dudes. So like the programs would work ish with the men,
Right.
and like I still don't use Siri or even my car because my brain was literally developed to think this technology does not work for women. It only works for men.
That's so funny.
Which is it's not, nothing against my dad. I mean, working with the higher frequencies was just
Yeah.
difficult. Anyway, but yeah, like my dad's like a big sci-fi guy, and I mean, I saw Westworld when I was like a tiny child, and
Oh, so this is nothing new to you. So you just felt
no, like this stuff was like, I mean, to be fair, like I think it was probably one of the only reasons I got the job. Like I went in and started
Right.
saying all the tech stuff, and Lisa was just like, I buy that. Yeah, I buy that. And I was like, I was terrible. I'm hungover, and she was
I
like,
feel like
no,
you're
it was
already-
great. Like it was just a natural. I think there were some things that felt natural for me.
Yeah, but you're kind of coming in with a strong bias against AI. It feels like
Not
you're
even
like,
against. It's just like, I mean, in terms of like AI as a concept, it's just
Right.
for me, it's like. Well, no, I mean it's a computer program.
yeah. So it's like, but it
Like, but it's
didn't
really
recognize
fun.
you as a person.
What?
So now it didn't recognize you as
Oh,
a person.
you mean that? Oh, yeah, I don't have a bias against it
Right.
in that sense. That was just like, the 90s was just like, pardon the pun, but like, the wild west of technology. I mean, we were only a few. My dad wrote OS2. I mean, before that, we were using MS-DOS at home. So it's like, I grew up with the computer as like a little sibling that took all my daddy's time away. But but I respect it and I loved it. And, I remember that Prodigy life.
Right.
You remember pre-AOL.
So my
Prodigy,
mom built-
Not
Prodigy.
Prodigy like I'm smart.
Prodigy.
I
Oh,
wasn't
I thought you meant the band. I
self-aggrandizing.
thought you meant that Firestarter.
That's
life.
actually way
Okay.
cooler. Way
Okay,
cooler.
cool.
So my mom builds computers and
yeah?
things like that. Yeah. So she got into computers in the 80s and now she does other stuff, but she's still like computer heavy. And she would take me to hang out with like her buddies who also build computers, and I see a lot of those personality traits
Right.
within Elsie. Did you like model them off of like your dad's friends? How did you?
I mean, it's really just like a slightly. I'm kind of like that
Okay.
You know,
Right.
like I bore people in conversations with like, did you see the new study that came out about the maternal gene in terms of intelligence, inheriting it from your mother? People are like, their faces go dead. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've gone too far. Let's change the
No.
subject. No, I just like that. I am kind of that way. So it's like, you know, I might have to Google a word or two that Jonah and Lisa write, but for the most
What?
part, like it
Right.
works. Like I know the tone. I know where it lies. Like
Right, because compared to, like, say, some of your other roles from, Raising Hope and The Riches, and so this is more, like, native to, you're saying.
I would say like this, yeah, this
Yeah.
is certainly like, I mean, especially as it goes on and she gets a little bit. It's interesting because I feel like the show really it starts with like Elsie is such a like the way she behaves, so like is like
Yeah.
computery in some ways because she spends so much time in the thing that like as the episodes go on, I feel like she opens up a bit more and becomes more like has to be out of the tablet, which is fun.
And we
for
saw
me.
that tonight on the episode.
Yeah, you start seeing that a bit, like me out in the park, and you know, I start being more like, it's out of my element. But as the more I get out of my element, the more, the less techie I feel.
So it's kind of
You know,
like
and I
your
think that's-
defense mechanism with, like, let's say with Stubbs.
It's just but I mean, it's the same way that everyone is. You know, where like you're home alone, you're on your phone the whole time. And It's
Yeah.
like, but then like if you go somewhere where you have no signal, all of a sudden you're like, guys, do you want to like play a game? You know, like you're like, oh right, out without this thing. Yeah, so I feel like there is that side of me that's like at home and I get super nerdy and I just want to do super nerdy things, but then I also cry for a living half the time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So there's multiple facets, and I think she is that way too. We've just only seen some.
And now you've been involved with this for, what, about 2 years now?
Yeah, we did the pilot 2 years ago. Last month. Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
a question about like to relate to what you were just talking about. When in the pilot you reach and you go to kiss the
Yes,
host,
thank you for
Yeah.
asking this.
is that because the character's not really used to human contact and like has
I don't know if it's about that, but I think you're on the right track. I mean, that moment's not, I mean, at least as far as I was aware of the way we talked about it, the scene isn't about sexuality, like it's about curiosity. It's just that
Right.
Bernard is saying like, it's these little things that make the host fall in love, or the guest fall in love with the host, and I'm laughing at like, oh God, like a hooker with hidden depths. And it's more just like, it's not about, I mean, she's a computer. It was just
Yeah.
like, I wonder what that feels like. How did they make it? There was some stuff that the scene is shorter now than it was when we made it. So there used to be some more stuff that made it very clear.
you
but
just like poked her in the eye? a
no,
couple
I
times?
just mean like what we were talking about in the scene became more specific to her mouth.
Right.
But that's not the way it is now because it's not how it ended up. But he's still. It's about the line where he says it's the little things that make the guests fall in love with him, and
Yeah.
he leaves, and she's like, prove it.
So
Just
it's
curiosity.
when you get the scripts for these, I'm wondering because it seems like it could be the type of show that is trying to build a sense of mystery for everyone involved. So how far ahead, as you were filming it, how far ahead did you read, and did you only get like scenes that just had something to do with your character?
No, I was given all of the scripts. I don't think that's the case for everyone, but I don't
Right.
know who does or doesn't. If everything is secret from me, like I only know my own experience, which is that I don't know anything, which I really liked because,
Okay.
especially because I kind of play the audience on the show. Like I always, like I'm the one trying to solve this mystery,
Yeah.
especially as we've seen so far. And so for me, it was great because, Elsie is like, she thinks she's the smartest person in the room and she thinks she knows. And by the way, that is a major character flaw I have
Okay.
had several times. It's a stupid thing to do. It's a hubris thing. And, Elsie is right a lot of the time. But I think like there is to a certain extent, like, that's I've lost my train of
Right.
thought for a minute because I got embarrassed about admitting.
You're the smartest person in the room.
You're not the
You're just
only
saying
one.
you're
I'm
the
not.
smartest person
You're
in this
not
room.
the
No,
one.
I don't think that, but it's like, but it becomes like a default, like,
Yeah.
especially like as a tiny woman, like to be constantly underestimated,
Yeah.
that like it becomes like a character flaw to start being like, okay, listen up, and this is how we're going to talk about it, and I'm right. So just like, and it's like a weird defect.
Coping message.
Yeah, exactly,
It
to, like,
never
get
leaves
people
you.
to
You're
pay
like,
attention.
Look, I know what I'm talking about. We're moving forward. I like it. I like that you can at least admit it, and you're like,
It's not how I feel now, but it's something that I feel like I did when I was younger, especially like you start. It is a way of like not looking for approval.
Yeah.
To start
Right.
being like, I'm just gonna go trudge ahead. I remember what I was saying is that it's great to not know, because when I am wrong or when Elsie's wrong, I'm like, oh, but I was never anticipating it. So
But
it's fun.
you still read the entire script. You just don't
I
read
go, but they give them to us episode by episode.
episode
Okay.
by episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I read the entire script. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, because it seems to me also that she can put Bernard in check. She's on to things. That,
But she has a bit of an autistic thing where, like,
Okay.
you know, where I do not have that quality, but it's kind of fun
No.
and freeing to do that. Where she doesn't think about the fact that that might be insubordinate, or that she just speaks her mind. She doesn't think twice. We did have to. They coached me a lot on that. They were like, "Just keep going. You're not worried. Just, oh, yeah. I'm worried about anyone's feelings. I want to be liked. Just keep going."
You know, and that even boils down to you and Stubbs, because I noticed there was a lot of tete-a-tete going on between the two of you, and I wanted to know what was going on off camera, because he seems, Luke Hemsworth seems like he's quite the prankster. He's very...
He's great.
Yeah, so I
We get
wondered-
along great.
Now, do you guys have to stick completely to script, or can you guys kind of go off the page a little bit?
No, we're sticking to the script.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while I'll add like a word or something if there's just like a beat, but I think I've only seen that in like once or twice in an edit. For the most part, it's pretty dead on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Lisa Joy putting your words down.
They're
and being
just
amazing.
so...
No, no, of course. But I was...
Yeah, what are you trying to say? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, what I'm saying is just because I've noticed Luke in his interviews, and he's just he's kind of the opposite of Stubbs.
I
of
know,
course.
he's so sweet and lighthearted and funny.
Yeah.
But by the way, I think Stubbs is too. It's just, I mean,
Right.
he brings
Yeah,
such a
he kinda-
likability to that. It's so, I love watching him. I think he's so
Yeah.
funny and charming.
And he kind of brings some jokes into this episode.
Yeah.
Like he says
Yeah.
Moon Madness, which was, by the way, I think a hint at something coming. But I'm curious, looking at you, wondering, blinking.
Oh, I
Cool.
actually don't know. I don't know
Okay.
anything. I really
Anything
don't.
about the Moon Madness?
No.
Okay.
That's actually
nothing.
true. I really don't know.
You really don't know. Okay, I'm just saying. We'll talk about
I
that.
mean, you
maybe
could be,
later.
but I wouldn't know.
Conspiracy guy over
It's,
here.
that's actually totally true, I
yeah,
swear.
I'm big into like the trying to figure out what the world is.
I get it.
so
We've all
I'm-
been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're all in that boat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so when he just like randomly brought up, what do you think he has moon madness? I'm like, why would he say moon madness? Are they on the moon? Now I think Westworld is on the moon.
Well, I think he said that because I think it's a constellation.
Right.
Right. Okay. So he's getting
staring
mad
at the
about
sky.
moons.
Yeah,
not-
a little
he's not buying
staring
it.
at the sky.
I don't
like-
buy it.
He's not buying it.
That's what I thought.
I also thought maybe the constellation when you were so worried about was like, why did he make this constellation? I was like, maybe that's because why you're so confused is because you can't see that constellation in the sky from where Westworld is. Because
Well,
it might not be on Earth.
I don't know where it is, and
Okay.
but I'd love to know. I have no idea.
Okay.
But that.
That was good.
But
Yeah.
I mean, she does say there's a line. I think it's still in there. Yeah, it is that she says he's not programmed to give a shit about stars. That's why
Right.
that's why she's worried. Is because she wrote that code. Like
Yeah.
that's he's not supposed to care about that. You know, that'd be like your phone doing something it's not programmed to do. You'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? This is not how it
Yeah.
works. So that's why she's concerned. It's not because the star's not in the sky or they can't see. It's because I didn't write that.
And that's a beautiful
And I know the
takeaway.
code, you know, I know that, like, you have to remember it is like your phone. Like, these, it is no different, it's just more advanced. That, like, if your phone starts doing something that's weird, it's like, and you build the program, you build the OS, that's just not how it's supposed to
Wait,
work.
so can we stop and have just a very brief conversation? Our chat has been having this very intense debate. They do not like us to call the hosts robots. They are very hosts or
Right.
synthetics.
Even though I
they're
want to
hosts.
say cowbots so bad. I want to say cowbots every single time.
Cowbots makes me feel good, but I don't
Yeah, it
write it,
feels
so
good,
I'm
right?
not in charge. you know?
Maybe when they get to talking about the steers themselves, those
Right.
could be the cowbots,
I love it.
but not the cowboys.
But
I
you
guess.
seem to
There were
feel
some
the-
cowbots in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem to feel the same way that I do, which is like they're like programming. Like they're not.
Well, yeah, they're
people.
hosts, of course. Yeah, we talk about. I mean,
Right.
yeah, they're not people.
Thank you.
It's-
Okay.
Of course they're not. They are AI.
AI hosts.
Right.
Yeah, and they're making decisions based on their programming, what
There
they're
was-
meant to do. It's all.
Can I jump in too?
Yes,
This
hey,
is Stephen the
Steve.
Booth, guys.
Hey,
Hey.
What I really love about the show so far is the kind of comparison between humanity and what the hosts are. Anthony Hopkins has a monologue in the first episode about evolution is just a series of mistakes leading to where we are now. And when you look at the human brain, like if you're going to say that, okay, your phone's just doing something it's not supposed to do, it's either a better phone or it's a worse phone, but if it's a better phone, you're going to continue using that. It's evolution on a computer scale, and when you look at the human brain, all it is electrical signals moving from one synapse to another. So you can look at instincts as the original programming and evolution as every mistake since then. So in what way are these hosts actually even any different from humans?
Well, but also I feel like, I mean, you're making a pretty big jump to say phones evolve. They don't. They're
Right.
programs. So that's, I mean, it's a big, that's a big jump.
And
It's a big jump, and it's not one you think about, right? It's not one you'd be like, the phones are evolving. You'd be like, you sound crazy. Like,
Right.
that's just not how it works.
Right.
And I think it's important to remember that this is it's logic-based, so.
And it's also a world that's built. It's a world built for escapism and to create creatures and hosts that you can manipulate and use. The
course.
guest can come.
It's a
and
ride.
use
It's
them.
Disneyland.
Right. So it's odd. I think the show brings up strange feelings for the viewers because it's hard for us not to identify.
Especially because they have human faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what's so great about the show. I mean, none of it is unthought out. I mean, Jonah and Lisa are fully all over it. And again, like, I'm just talking about this like a fan. Like, I love it. And these are the things, like, especially I could be over identifying with my character, you know, like but I can't help it. I've been doing it for 2 years. Like, when we have these conversations at work, I'm just like, no, it's a program and it doesn't evolve. Like, this is how it works. If there's a flaw, there's a flaw. Like,
I definitely
but
don't want to
that's-
shade the people who've been commenting, but I was
Sorry, I
like,
haven't read the comments to be fair, so I
you're
don't
good,
mean to
you're
shade
good.
you if
no,
I'm doing
I feel like I was kind of being rude. I don't be rude to you guys, but I just feel pretty strongly in the same way that you do that, like, you know, they're programming, but I understand, like, the audience, like, yeah, but they're gaining sentience, like, they understand, and I'm like, but do they?
Well,
But do
that's the
they?
question. Are they or are they not? I mean,
Right.
you know, it's it's interesting because as human beings, as creatures who did evolve, I feel like it's almost human nature to assume that and fear that, right?
Yeah.
But also you have to be practical about what that would look like and if it's even
Yeah.
possible. So it's interesting. That's what the show is about. Is
Carry on
it?
the conversation,
Are
'cause
they
in
and
reading
how
it was
and
very
why?
fascinating.
But isn't this the crux of it all, especially with Bernard this episode?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
seems to be the gatekeeper that's opening possibly the floodgates with Dolores.
Yeah,
And-
Bernard.
Dolores kind of showed the first sign of sentience, like the first, I think, true sign of sentience in the episode, in the series so far.
Yeah, did she or did she
In
not?
which moment?
Well, because when she says, why did you say what you just said? And she says, I don't know. That feels like it's coming from suddenly she's having something on instinct that isn't programmed into her. And that she's not able to piece into, okay, I said this to placate you or to calm the situation. I said this because I felt it.
Yeah.
And that feels like, to me, real sentience. While before this, it seems like it could be glitches, it could be past memories coming back up, past hosts coming back into her system and just kind of filtering through everything. But now it's something that's like X. It's
Right.
it's
a
X
big
thing.
question
Especially
mark,
with the
yeah.
follow-up question, because in episode 2 we have the moment where she's sitting with Bernard having that proper conversation in the beginning, and he's like, he asked her if she's in trouble, and she says, no, are you in trouble? Did you do something wrong? And that kind of gave me a brief moment of pause where I was like, okay, are you plotting? Like, are you digging for information? I don't know. I still believe that there's a third omniscient being out there who is pulling strings.
Well,
I feel
we
like
get-
everybody is Geppetto, or there's a Geppetto out there, everybody's Pinocchio.
I think we get a sense about who that possibly could be in this episode. We found out about, I'm going to forget
Arnold?
his name. Arnold, which is like the most non-menacing name for a potentially menacing character.
It's always
is
the ones you least suspect.
Yeah, and we get a sense of, okay, there was another creator who built Westworld and was kind of crazy and had a sense that there should be sentience, is kind of searching for the singularity to happen. So if that's the case, then this is what's kind of propelling everything now.
And I was really puzzled by that because I don't know if you noticed Ford when he was speaking about Arnold, it almost seemed like he, when he talked about his death, maybe I'm reading into it too much. I'm starting to see other shades to Ford's character to me. It seems like maybe a little bit darker, as just the way he treated.
They do that line in episode 1. They're like, he's gonna chase his demons right over the edge.
And that's what I'm concerned about. Is Bernard the new Arnold in a sense?
Yeah,
they seem very similar to me.
I think there is a sense of a lot of, especially the technicians and the people actually building these robots. I feel like there must be a sense of teetering on the edge of identifying with these people as the hosts as humans, or as just robots and creatures themselves. It seems like your character is one of the only ones that's on the firm side of they're just creatures, or they're just built to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes both ways. With Elsie is logical and is very aware of the fact that the hosts are hosts. Mm-hmm. She builds them, But in addition to that, she also has a strong no asshole policy, So it's like it's disgusting and tragic what the guests do to them, and she says that, and it sucks. But yeah, she's aware that they're not real.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that she treats them inhumanely. I think there is a difference. There are people who they treat them like objects, but she also, it's like she makes stuff. It's like, don't break that. I made it. What's wrong with you? Who raised you?
Yeah.
So I think it kind of goes both ways. Like, she certainly, she treats them with kindness. She doesn't disdain them. She's gentle with them.
Yeah.
It's also I think there was actually a line that was cut in a scene from this where she says something about just because they don't understand what suffering is doesn't mean they should suffer.
Yeah, and
that's really where it's at, I think, for her.
I feel like you see that too, actually, in the first episode, or maybe the second episode, when you shut down one of the hosts, you do it in a very tender way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, I just think it's just like character. That's all it is. It's like human character. It's not that on Elsie's behalf, she's just not an asshole. It's like, just because it's not real suffering,
right,
it sucks. It's still like, why make them do it? I'm not getting off on it.
So
I think that's where it lies. It's just
when you go into scenes where you're about to interact with a host, especially when they're someone playing a host, and especially if they're sitting there naked at the time. Do you try and I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this. Do you try and dehumanize them right before you enter that scene?
What's weird? Yeah, I've gotten, it just comes naturally now.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and I just know that when I'm doing the scene that's... And it took a little bit... It was a bit of a mind fuck at first. Uh-huh. And then I think, I started walking around places and imagining if everyone was fake and I was the only person there and all of them were just, if they were just hosts walking around, how would I behave? How do I walk? You're interested in it. You're not worried about being looked at. Mm-hmm. You don't think about it. Yeah. You don't treat them with it. You act like you're alone, And I think that's something that was what the mindfuck was. Is okay, I'm alone in this room, even though I'm working with these people. There's a scene in the second episode where we were with Tandy, and I have this long monologue in the second, where I'm I'm doing analysis or whatever, and it was such a long bit, and afterwards, Tandy, when they'd say cut, she'd go, and it scared me. I was like, oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, because they're not supposed to breathe.
Yeah, so she's freezing, bless her. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm gonna take the line again. And she's just holding her breath, and she's just so still, and I'm just doing this whole thing that after a while I just started buying the scenery.
Right.
Wow.
That's
So, if you notice me acting really strange at some point, maybe commit me. The way you it's like doing Magic Eye, where you're just move your eyes like this and you'll see the picture. It gets easier to do it after a while. I think it's kind of the closest.
So you're
acting
saying
is like that.
You do this off of camera now?
No. No. I don't. I just mean once you kind of find how to see the picture, it gets much easier to see.
Sure.
I know how what that feels like, though I don't actually believe that.
I know.
I'm friends with them. I treat them as humans.
We get drinks afterwards. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I know we still have to talk about it. It's just overall that feeling that, like you said, as a viewer, we're in love with the host. My heart breaks every single episode.
Oh, so hard to watch.
Teddy,
right?
the bullet sponge. Now he's a knife sponge. How many ways can he do? It's true.
I just
know,
like
it's
that they
horrible.
cast James Marsden for this part because his whole career has just been every time he plays a character, the character just never gets what he wants.
The
at
bird
end.
lover.
Yeah,
Right.
he's always a nice guy who's
He's
so
amazing.
with the better guy, with love, no sadness behind it. And I love that in this, because at first we don't know that he's a host. We think he's a person.
Right.
And this whole moment of him shooting and these bullets are just bouncing off, and then he has to watch the love of his life be brutalized, and it's it feels James Marsden appropriate, and it's funny to me.
It feels very meta.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's amazing. He's such a good actor.
Stunning. He's so good.
Yeah.
You know, and when I wanted to talk about that, it's almost like popcorn kernels. How all those hosts are becoming aware in different parts of the whole world, and that's the beauty of it. It's like that slow burn, and they're just coming out of everywhere with you. And was that Tate Fletcher?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So it was.
You versus the
I didn't know
MMA
his
fighter.
last name, but it was like Tate. Oh yeah, the Stray.
Yeah,
That's Tate. Yeah.
The big time MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, really?
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but next to him, I was like, yeah, so I buy that as a job for you. How are you?
How's that rock over your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, and so I'm just trying to think anywhere else that we can go with this. We've covered you and Stubbs, but what's next? That's what I want to figure out. How you are gonna unravel this whole thing, because I think you're onto it.
Give us all the spoilers.
No,
not just
no,
the
no,
rest
not
of
in
the
a, not in
show.
a spoiler. But I'm just trying to figure out, without spoiling anything, like where would you like to see Elsie go next?
Well, this is hard because I know where she goes now.
Ah, true.
Sorry, I don't want to rub it in, but I have read all of the episodes.
I know.
Out of the moon.
This moon.
Sorry.
Elsie's got some troubleshooting to do.
Or are we asking the right questions?
We gotta solve the mystery. It's a little Nancy Drew.
That's
I'm doing
great.
mean. I'm not making fun of anyone here. I mean, like that's me. Like
I just wanted to exist in that voice.
But I do it at work
Happened.
all the time. And we're like, because I'll have super specific nerdy questions. I'll be like, I think the camera actually has to be over here because the line would be directed at the pad, not at the host. Like, and I make fun of myself because I realize I'm like, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I think this, like,
Right.
and so I just started making fun of myself by doing this thing where I'm constantly, I do wear glasses.
With
and
such
like,
heavy-
guys, quick question.
Do you do voice acting stuff?
No, but I would love to
Someone
if anyone's
hire this woman.
watching.
It's like the third impression we've seen you do today, and it's just marvelous. It's so fun to watch.
Thanks.
With such heavy material, what is the atmosphere on set like? Are you guys clowning around a lot to try to get out of these moments? Is it?
I don't think it's because of getting out. I mean, I think, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes we clown around. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's like a big scene. It's hard. There's a lot of elements and nobody's really doing anything but kind of doing their own thing. It just really depends on the day. But the atmosphere in and of itself is like, it's amazing. And I think a lot of that, it really is one of the best situations I've ever been in. First of all,
Right.
everybody is like nerding out, right?
Yeah.
Like most of the stuff we're doing, it's all practical. So like these sets are real and they're massive and the scale is real. And you're like, you show up to work every day, you're like, I'm inside like a crazy movie right now. This
Right.
is nuts. Like, you know, the kid in me that said like when I was 5, like, Mama, I want to be in the TV. Like, I'm in the TV, like in like a way that's like practical. You can really feel it. It's not like there's a green screen everywhere and you're like, so what's this gonna look like when we do it?
Can I
So
ask
it's
a question?
fun. Yeah?
Booth voice.
Hello,
with
voice of Booth.
disembodied voice.
Okay.
Leading up to the premiere of Westworld,
Yeah.
there was always like for the past 2 years, there's been so many like news articles like, oh, problems on set, problems with this, problem with
Yeah.
this. Will this show ever get made? Will this show be any good? And I think a lot of people were kind of questioning. There was a lot of hype, and now. What was it like leading up to that premiere? And now that the premiere is out and everyone's saying this is the new Game of Thrones, everyone's really just all on board. How's that feel?
It's nice for it to stop hearing the bullshit, yeah.
Right.
Because there was never a problem with the show. The show was always amazing, and we were always having a great time. And as far as I know, there were never any kind of problems like that. I mean, listen, we've been reading these scripts and shooting this show, and so when Jonah and Lisa were like, "Hey, we want to write the rest of the script so we can block shoot them all together," we're all like, "Yeah, that's a great idea because then we can." I mean, it just makes more sense to. You can't really shoot it like a TV show.
Right.
No one's really tried to make a show this scale, as far as I know, in the States. You know, Game of Thrones is shot in several different countries, and they have, I'm pretty sure, 3 UPMs, and you know they have and they shoot, I think, French hours, which means they work 6 days instead of 5, and there's all. Also, I'm not a UPM. I don't know how this stuff works, but it seems like there's enough of like, it makes more sense to write all the scripts and shoot them all as one big movie, you know? So if you're going to use the same location or be in the same place, like, let's shoot there for a week and then here for a week, you know? Instead of constantly moving crews that are massive back and forth, you know? So it was such a practical thing to be like, yeah, do that and then let's. So when we started hearing, like, I was just, I'm speaking for myself personally, I was annoyed. I was
Right.
reading this being like, man, can you imagine if every time you read about Game of Thrones, it was like, Game of Thrones, whose pilot was half reshot, you know, like, it's like that's annoying. Like that's not the case, and it was weird to feel like something that we were so far into felt like overshadowed by all this doubt, and it was like we can't really say anything, but just like let it speak for itself, and it's exciting to watch it speak for itself now. And also, like, what was I gonna say? Like, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I would just sit at my computer, being like, like someone like hit my brother or something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, goodness. You'll see one day. Just
I feel
felt
like
like
it's
a little
such
kid.
So you feel vindicated.
Well, I don't, because I have nothing to do with this. You know, I just show up and say lines. It's just I love this show. I just happen to be on it, so it was like watching somebody make fun of something they hadn't seen or something. I'm just like, you guys, it's really cool.
I think Bo Burnham was saying like he took 4 years to make to do one comedy special to another, and he was talking
Wow.
about how, and he just abandoned Twitter. He was like, I'm working on making
Yeah.
something really good, and I get that feeling from Westworld, where it was like people were like, well, what's going on? We don't have the details, so something must be wrong. Although you would tell us if it was something else. When in fact, like you guys were making art, you were taking time to really craft a story that is phenomenal to watch, and I'm kind of glad that we were able to see like hear all of this drama that was happening and come out the other side and be like, nah, it's just a good show.
Yeah, it's
we
pretty.
can just move past
Yeah.
it.
It's pretty special, and also in that case, you know, like it's not our place to say anything or speak about. So
Yeah.
you know, in hindsight, like I'm glad people are digging it, and it was annoying to have to sit there and watch it and just be like, one day you'll see.
Yeah, there was also all those articles about. Can you believe they're asking extras to?
Oh.
There's going to be scenes where
I know
they're
it was
going
a
to have
picture
to
of
be.
me on a lot of that.
Yeah.
On those articles. It was like
When
I
you're
was the
kissing.
face of genital to genital touching. To be fair, we were laughing a lot. They were, I think they were shooting that scene that day that story came out. We were like,
Yeah.
everything's going fine and it's done now, so don't worry.
Yeah.
No humans were harmed.
That's totally fine.
But I wasn't there that day, so I didn't see it. But I heard it was a real hoot.
Yeah.
One more
I
quick
don't
question.
think any genitals touched. I think that was just a like if this scares the
In case it happens.
bejesus out of you,
Just walk away.
don't come.
In
Like
case
it's not your
something
thing
slips.
today.
And you also understand why some extras may have to be chairs or may have to
I
be
know, that's
ridden
crazy.
around, which are all on the things. But if once you watch the show, you're like, yeah, they're gonna need to sign something for that. That does make sense.
I haven't seen the bit, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Last question before
Yeah.
I stop interrupting you guys as the disembodied voice. With the new trend in TV is like, oh, we have to make this show good by killing characters. You see it with The Walking Dead. They do it with Game of Thrones all the time. At least it makes sense there. With HBO especially, did any of the cast really have that like terrified feeling opening the script for the first time?
I'm sure we all did, and we just never talk about
Right.
it. I mean, I'd be scared every day, you know?
You're especially one of the characters that could die and not come back.
Right.
I
as an
know.
actual human.
Yeah, the other characters can die over and over again.
What do you mean? We need a little Elsie in our lives.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
See,
that should happen.
I'm just saying, if she dies,
I
it's
know.
probably permanent.
It's a vulnerable position to be put in.
Do you think they'll take a character who's human and create a host out of them?
I don't know.
As
I
like a
don't write this
Cylon
show.
kind of storyline?
I don't write this show. You know, Lisa Joy's writing Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
Speaking of
God.
Cylons.
Super excited about that.
Oh, there
Um,
it is.
I'm also wondering if there's, well, you can't say anything.
Nah.
But the big question is like, I think everyone's expecting someone who's not a host to be discovered as a host,
Right.
at some point.
I've read about that.
So it feels like, have you found that people are, I don't know if you're reading any of the fan
I know, I read them
reactions.
because it's exciting that people care. It's only
Yeah.
been like 2 weeks. It's so exciting.
Right. So are people like keeping track of your eye movements or keeping track of how many
I
times
haven't-
you
No, I
blink?
think you are, Dave.
I mean, I'm not. I'm
don't-
not, except for this moon theory. That's the moon
Also,
theory's
till
mine.
this episode, I mean, I've only been in like a few scenes and episodes. I don't
Right.
think people are really that worried about me, so I haven't gotten anything. Like I haven't seen
Okay.
anything like that on the Twitter. But I also, I don't know. Maybe
It's-
they will. I don't know.
It's coming down the line, I think. I think everyone's a suspect. Anyone could be a host.
Anything could happen.
Yeah.
It's the future Wild West.
Crap, Dave, you got me looking at her eyes to see if she's a host or not.
Well, she's
There's
not
no-
now.
Here,
This is
she's
real
just-
life.
I know, no, but when you mention it, and she, you know, like for a second, the fur on the brow, something like that Bernard would pick up on. And
What's funny is that so many people have told me, or just accidentally said, over the last year or so, like asking about the show, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this show for HBO, and kind of explaining a little bit about the theme park in the future, and you know,
Yeah.
there's everyone's a robot, they're hosts, but you know, to explain to, and
those
they're like, so
normies.
wait, so like you have robots play the robots, right? Like it's an accidental thing, and I'm like, no, human actors play. They're like, right, of course.
They're building
It
robots.
really, like, it's happened a few times,
Right.
like, just accidental, just like, so wait, so how'd they get the robot thing to work?
I certainly have moments of that in watching the show. Particularly go back to the pilot when we first meet Ford and he's having this conversation with one of the like second generation hosts. It takes me a second to be like, oh,
That seems
that is
amazing.
a guy pretending to be a robot, and it is so
I know, it's
unnerving.
so good.
Like I'm just like, oh, see the whole body bag part. I'm like, this really creeps me out.
I know,
in a
I've seen it a
cool
few
way.
times, and they're like,
Oh, Old Bill?
so
Yes.
crazy, yeah.
Jeez, and the way he moves.
Yeah, his jerky movements. It's just, it's stunning, but it's creepy.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is creepy.
For the record, I now think Ford is not a robot. I thought
Did you think
Ford,
you thought he was before?
I thought he was a robot before,
Okay.
or a host.
Sorry, a
guess.
host. Yeah.
A host before, even though it's confusing now if I say host. But okay, he's not a cowbot, is what I'm saying. Because I think they're building up. I thought maybe he was going to be the life, extending his life, because in that first episode he says the next path we have to do is to get rid of our death and to continue. But now I think that's what Arnold's doing. So
Oh.
that's what I think.
And see, and I think it's
Predictions.
Bernard, and yeah, Bernard is with his son.
Right.
That's
possibly.
I think that's his big MO.
I'm glad Ford went through, since we're on Ford, talked about the level of consciousness that is put into each of the hosts, which is something I don't think I've seen before. That's like
Right.
an aspect of the singularity I
Yeah.
don't think we've touched on, with trying to achieve it by putting a God's voice into someone's subconscious, which means that's what can drive some hosts crazy, but it can also lead others to actually find sentience by like
It's a
hearing their own
real
voice.
consciousness theory, the
Yeah.
bicameral mind theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's-
like you can really get into a Google hole with that.
Yeah, it's
did
It's
last
like the
night.
idea of like about human consciousness and how people think it works. It's really you can really go down a rabbit hole.
Well, I like
Which
how the
is
show
awesome.
like lays it out so that it's easy to understand for somebody
Yeah.
who's not that minded at all. Especially when you see they kind of do these onion layers on multiple levels, not just in the robots, but even the way the theme park kind of works. And that the closer you stay to town, the safer you are, and the further out you venture, the more dangerous it can get. And I'm wondering how far this onion kind of goes. Like how many more times we'll see it play out in different things.
how
You know what I'm
big
saying?
is this onion?
It's gigantic onion. Yeah, mostly with now the relationships between the hosts, because I think we're going to see those expand a little bit more, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. I think I know where you're going with that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Dolores William Teddy, perhaps?
Maybe, I don't know.
We should save it for predictions.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but now that we have you here, we also should talk about other stuff going on in your world. You know, because I know this isn't your first time with AI. I saw you on Craig Ferguson talking to Jeff.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
No,
yeah.
but what other projects, or what do you have anything going on outside of Westworld?
I just did my old boss, Greg Garcia, who wrote Raising Hope.
Okay.
He has a new anthology series, like Black Mirror is an anthology series, you know, where like every episode has a new cast.
Yeah.
I just finished a thing last week. He has a new show for TBS called The Guest Book. I just did one of those.
Cool. Is it like
that
a
was super fun.
comedic anthology series?
Yeah.
Or it's
Very
awesome.
fun.
And like every episode has its own tone, and it's really interesting. Anyway, I should probably not talk too much about it because I don't know if they've announced. I don't think it's a
Right.
secret that the show exists. It's not. But anyway, so I just finished that.
We just got that
That
out
was
of
fun, and
you.
we've just been doing this stuff.
Yeah, I could see for the last 2 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
With an amazing story like this. But honestly, thank you so much for just being a part of this. I mean, you really kind of... Now I know what's going on. Now I know I'm going to look at your eyes to see
Okay,
what
look
you're
at my
blinking.
eyes. Please feel free,
And-
fully vet me.
Yeah, no, but once again, just a big shout out to you. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining us.
having me.
Absolutely.
Glad
So
you
should we
guys
move
dig it.
predictions?
Sure.
Yeah. Doing the predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
That's right.
predictions.
Production. You might wander the deserts and play with green screens, but
Dave,
we've
I'm,
got
I'm
flashing
scared right
lights.
now. I'm scared.
Well, I mean, for predictions,
Yeah.
Listen. I think one, they're on the moon. That's my big prediction. But also, I think what I'm excited about is I now know what the Man in Black is looking for, because in the previous episode, I was a little worried that the Man in Black was just trying to find an Easter egg in the game that would give him an extra 1,000 points or some weird thing like that. And now I know that there is someone who could have put a map in the game to access something that's close to the singularity or close to something that could extend one's life, or possibly download their mind into a robot, into a host cowbot of their own. And I think that's what the Man in Black is looking for. Whatever secret Arnold put into the whole game. And that's what the map is for, and that's what all these little Easter eggs are about, because it was done by one of the initial creators. Because in the previous episode, I kept wondering, why isn't he just talking to Ford? If Ford's right there, he could just ask Ford, he could just go behind the scenes, because he appears to have a lot of power in the company, because they're like, that guest can do whatever he wants. He can just go back, ask Ford what's happening, where do I find this secret Easter egg? But it's more in depth than that, and I'm excited about that. So that's my big prediction for what he's looking for. But yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if this will happen next episode or perhaps the episode after. Help me with names, y'all. Jeffrey Wright's character.
Bernard Lowe.
Yes, and his lady friend.
Teresa Cullen.
Bernard and Teresa are gonna have head collisions, and their wants are so different, which makes them exciting to watch as a couple, because it's clear that they love each other. Like, going back and rewatching the pilot and seeing it's so sweet, like all of these kind of little, like, we can't really talk about it things, but I look forward to when they can no longer be friends because they are on opposite sides. Their needs are opposite, and I think especially watching those two actors, it's going to be a lot of fun to see that happen.
Especially with Bernard. Now we saw that Bernard had the opportunity to maybe stop Dolores from becoming more conscious or growing into more of the Judas steer, I think, that she's hinted that she might become. So, but Bernard's just letting that go and letting her grow, because he's too invested in the science and study of what actually will happen.
The show clearly doesn't deal in absolutes of good versus evil. It's very murky. No. But I love Jeffrey Wright when he goes evil. And if Bernard turned out to be like an evil villain, I'd be happy with it. I'd be really excited to watch it. He does evil so good.
He does everything so well.
He really anything he's ever done where I'm like, no, that's bad.
See, I'm on that same page with Bernard. I think just there are huge consequences for what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's going to catch up to him. And that's what I'm really afraid for Bernard. That's
Spoken the Bear for sure.
Yeah. Well, he's Dr. Hammonding it. He's a little Jurassic Park, if I'm thinking of the right character, but he's the guy. Life finds a way.
Finds a way.
Yes. If we want to do Jurassic Park quotes, I can go all day. But
by the way, side note, I did see somebody say once on Twitter that made me laugh, or something. It was somewhere that somebody was like, I think she plays the Jeff Goldblum character, and I was like, yes! That's a win! That's a solid win! Anyway, sorry.
Then you just have to do that one shot of him just like bleeding. Perfect. Must go faster. But yeah, he's the one that's like really pushing the, oh no, this is still good. This is still good. And he's gonna be the one that's like, I overdid it. I shoulda gone back.
You don't know where the line is until you've crossed it.
Right.
And yeah, I think he's got a plan for all of those hosts in storage downstairs in the flooding freezer.
Right.
How are we doing on predictions? We'll save you for next time on your predictions, but let us know. Are we close to anything?
I can't.
That's all the time.
I'm gonna make a prediction, JC.
Go for it.
Sure.
I'm gonna say that at the end of this season, I think we find out that when he originally created Dolores, she had sentience, and I think he buried it within the subconscious, and throughout years and years and years of burying that subconscious, she's only slowly coming to realize that she had it in the first place.
Steven, with your mad predictions in the back, my
Possibly.
goodness.
Everything's hidden in the subconscious. It's like 1,000 layers of paint being put over an original layer that they're just buried. And now that he's close to death, he's like, did I make a mistake? And he's gonna bring it back.
Listen, God, I gotta.
Across the court, he's shooting. Will he score?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm gonna disagree with you, because I think she needed to live this many lives and kind of evolve this long in order to find sentience. I don't think it was. I think this Westworld the whole process of Westworld is to find sentience, and it's yet to be found unless it's now hatching in Dolores for the first time.
God voice from above. I kind of agree with Dave here. I'm sorry.
I like your theory. I'm not mad at you for it.
Yeah, not
though.
mad at you, but hey, fans, what do you think? What is your theory? What do you see happening in the next few weeks? So let's get out of here, guys. So, Mr. Dave Child, where can they find you?
You can find me at Mr. Dave Child or DaveChild.com. That's my name.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique and every week at blackgirlnerds.com. Head over to nerdsofcolor.org to check my review of Birth of a Nation. And if you want to hear my first thoughts on Doctor Strange, head over to my Twitter account.
All right, and AfterBuzz Nation, once again, a round of applause for Miss Shannon Woodward. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And where can America find you?
Oh, at Shannon Woodward on Twitter.
So for
Big
the
Twitter
incredible
fans out there.
Shannon Woodward, Dave Child, Joel, Stephen up above, I'm JC. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.